Hey everyone, Phyllis Finley here. I'm your Community Outreach Coordinator for Denton County MHMR Center. We're here to talk about May Mental Health Awareness Month. And so first of all, I want to just share that at Denton County MHMR Center, if you are in need of our help 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you can contact our crisis line at 1-800-762-0157. Or you can walk into our psychiatric triage facility at 2509 Scripture, Suite 100. Again, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There's also 988. You can always contact that number as well, which can get you to your local mental health authority. If you're in need of long-term services, and in crisis and in regular services, we serve people between the ages of 3 to 17 and adults through the lifespan that either have no insurance or underinsured with Medicaid. You can call that hotline, same number, 1-800-762-0157, 24 hours a day, and set up an intake. And so you want to do that pre-evaluation first over the phone with the crisis line. And then you can come in and finish the intake process at one of our two locations in Flower Mound or in Denton. Denton, it's 2509 Scripture. And in Flower Mound, help me out with the address, ladies.
1001 Cross Timbers Road.
And you can walk in there and get that intake completed between the hours of 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. Monday through Friday. So that's a little bit about how you can get some services and supports from us. There's a wealth of different services that we offer. Way too much to talk about here, but at least you have an understanding of how you can get help in a crisis situation or in the event that you need long-term services for either your child or an adult. So I'm going to pass the baton over to Michelle Foster. Let her introduce herself and talk about the prevalence rates.
All right. I'm Michelle Foster. I am the project director for our training expansion grant that we recently received. So mental health is prevalent within our society. It's 1 in 5 adults will experience a mental health challenge in any given year. 1 in 5 of our children will experience a mental illness or mental health challenge before the time they reach the age of 18. And those rates are increasing. Okay, we're still waiting for all the data to come out from post-COVID, all that data to come out to see how just the pandemic and all those stressors have impacted us, because these rates are increasing. And through this prevalence, it takes on average 10 years from when symptoms first start appearing for an individual to them actually seeking out treatment. That is a huge and a long time for somebody to wait and to suffer. And it's usually they finally come into services because either they're on the verge of a crisis or they're already in an active crisis, and that's when they start coming into services. And if we can reach them before that time period, okay, get them when it's still some of those early signs and symptoms, we can definitely, that treatment is not as intensive. They can learn sooner those coping skills, things like that, that can definitely benefit their life and their well-being, and can focus in on how, if they are even diagnosed with a severe and persistent mental illness, they can learn these skills when it's still even throughout, whether it's still in the early or worsening or even crisis symptoms. But if we can catch it early, if that, even a severe persistent mental illness, we can is much better outcomes. That recovery, getting into their recovery, is quicker. It doesn't take as intense treatment to get them into that state. So if we can, definitely, these are conversations that we need to have with our loved ones, because it does affect. It's not if this will ever happen. It's going to be a win whenever you might know somebody in your life that is going to experience this, because it is so prevalent. And not every mental health concern is a severe and persistent mental illness. So just seeking out that help, whether it's going to be, there's different types of treatment options, whether it's going to be focusing in on medications with doctors, or going to different types of therapies, or even just taking care of yourself through our self-care measures, can definitely benefit that. And mentioning self-care, I'll pass it to Nellie to talk about different types of self-care that we can definitely utilize in our lives.
Yeah. Thanks, Michelle. I'm Nellie. I am the program manager of our mobile crisis outreach team. And just like Michelle touched on, those coping skills that can be extremely beneficial to preventing crisis situations to happening are extremely important, not just for people experiencing that mental health concern, but just everyone in general. You know, this is a great month to kind of tap into things that you enjoy, like hobbies, things that you might have enjoyed in the past where you're like, man, I wish I could go back and, you know, get back into basketball or get back into sewing, whatever it was. It's that good time to reflect on what really helps your mental health, become a little bit more healthy. So it's a great reminder that everyone can benefit from self-care, but especially during this month, we want to make sure that if our family or our friends are dealing with some sort of situation regarding their mental health, that we remind them that they have those tools in their back pocket to ensure that, you know, if there is a crisis situation happening or they feel like they're about to go into some sort of episode, that they can tap into those coping skills, that self-care, remembering that, you know, even just positive self-talk, a bath, making sure that you get a good schedule with your sleeping and eating habits is great. Going to the mall, you know, that's a good one for me. Getting outside, just going on a walk, hanging out with your cats and dogs, your friends, your family. Those things are amazing to ensure that, you know, you create a good space for yourself. It checks yourself to make sure that you're keeping up with, you know, your mental health and your well-being just by doing the things that you love. So we really appreciate you guys taking the time out to watch this video. And again, like Phyllis said, we're available 24/7, 365 with the crisis line or our psychiatric triage located at 2509 Scripture for those in a crisis. And then, of course, if you want to do an intake into our mental health services, you can go 8 to 5 or 8 to 2 over at our main building and kind of call that crisis line to do that intake. I hope you guys have a great Mental Health Awareness Month, and that's it. Bye.